There was a dog, skin and bones, who kept dragging home just one thing from the giant landfill every single day. An old, tattered shirt, filthy and torn. And when rescuers finally discovered the reason, they couldn't hold back their tears. Why would a homeless, starving dog cling so desperately to a rag covered in garbage smells for nearly 2 weeks straight? What was he searching for, or waiting for, in the filthiest corner of the city? But no one imagined that what was hidden inside that old shirt would turn out to be the key to a heartbreaking tragedy and a miracle that saved his life. Stay until the end of this video, because this is a true story that made even the toughest rescuers cry. The dog was first spotted in the middle of a massive landfill. It was so skinny that its ribs protruded beneath filthy, oil-stained fur. Every time a garbage truck arrived, it would dart away in fear, but minutes later, it always came back to the same spot. Clenched in its mouth was a faded blue shirt, torn to shreds and soaked with the stench of trash. Some of the garbage workers said, "It keeps carrying that shirt back, burying it under piles of scrap paper, then curling up around it sniffing, as if it was holding on to the last memory of someone it once loved." On the 5th day, when the rescue team arrived, they saw the dog standing silently atop a mountain of trash, its eyes gazing into the distance. No one dared approach too quickly. Any closer, and it would growl, baring its teeth. But what broke the rescuers' hearts the most was when they discovered that embroidered into the collar of the shirt the dog kept carrying was a tiny name stitched in delicate letters. A name that they would soon learn was tied to a heartbreaking tragedy. They quietly tried to get closer to it, inch by careful inch. It took almost 3 hours before anyone could finally touch it. And when a young woman gently stroked its head, the dog suddenly looked up, eyes shimmering with tears. Everyone was nearly stunned into silence, for in those eyes was a look of pain, longing, and a love that simply refused to die. After bringing the dog back to the rescue center, they started investigating the name embroidered on the shirt, Emily Carter, and no one expected that it was the name of a young woman who had died 3 weeks earlier in a car accident, just a few blocks from the landfill in Phoenix, Arizona. In the documents they uncovered, there was a photo of Emily smiling beside a small golden dog, his big round eyes sparkling. It was him, the very dog they had just rescued. He wouldn't leave the landfill because for nearly 3 weeks he had been waiting for the owner who would never come back. They decided to bring the shirt to him at the rescue center. The moment he smelled it, his entire body began trembling, and he let out long, heartbroken howls. A 63-year-old woman named Mrs. Margaret Harissa, longtime volunteer, broke into tears. She said, "He's not just a stray dog. He's a loyal soul who can't let go of his past." And she offered to adopt him. During his first few days in the new home, he refused to eat. He just lay beside the old shirt, staring toward the door as if waiting for someone to return. But then, one afternoon, Mrs. Margaret Harris picked up the shirt, laid it gently beside him, and whispered, "Emily asked me to take care of you. You're safe now." For the very first time, he stretched forward and gently licked her hand, eyes shimmering with tears. A small miracle seemed to be unfolding, just when it seemed like everything was finally okay. By the second week, the dog suddenly stopped eating, standing by the front door, staring out toward the street. One night, Mrs. Margaret Harris heard soft scratching at the window. She stepped out and froze when she saw him holding the old shirt in his mouth, eyes burning with a determined look. He was insisting that she follow him. With trembling hands, she grabbed his leash, and the dog led her straight toward the neighborhood where Emily once lived. They stopped in front of a white-painted house, the windows still adorned with a silver wind chime tinkling softly in the breeze. The dog stood silently, then sat down at the gate, gazing at the house as if waiting for someone to open the door. Mrs. Margaret Harris felt her eyes fill with tears. She understood This was the home where Emily had once lived, and where she had loved him more than anything. But Emily was gone, and he simply couldn't accept that truth. Mrs. Margaret Harris gently sat down beside him, placing her hand on his back. She took the shirt out, set it in front of him, and whispered, "You don't have to stay here anymore. Emily will always be in your heart, and I'll always be here for you too." The dog trembled, then suddenly rested his head against her chest. For the very first time, he closed his eyes and relaxed his body, as if finally believing that he had found a new home. And that was the moment that made every rescuer cry when they heard the story. And that is the true story of a little dog, whose loyalty never wavered, no matter how much he lost. If you believe that a dog's love for humans is one of the purest bonds on earth, please hit like on this video and subscribe to our channel SoulPaw Stories V so you won't miss more heartwarming stories like this one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.